I'm Terry P. I am a celebrity makeup artist, having spent 25 years in the Los Angeles film industry, also as a costume designer, and I am now slowing down a bit from the film industry and really concentrating my efforts on permanent makeup. So there are several different styles or methods to permanent makeup, but essentially their main objective is to implant pigment into the dermis. So you have the epidermis, which is your first layer of skin, and where you want that pigment to go is into the dermis, which is below the epidermis. So essentially what you're seeing when you see permanent makeup is you are seeing pigment through a window of skin. In other words, I'll show you my own tattoo. A tattoo is not on the top of the skin, it's in the dermis. So essentially your skin has grown over the tattooed area and now you see the pigment peeking through. So usually the procedures that we can do with permanent makeup are usually brows, upper and lower liner, lip liner, shaded lip liner, or a full, beautiful, completely covered mouth with pigment. Lips are a little tricky to do. It's an advanced procedure. I highly recommend that you really consult with someone first, and maybe even a couple of people, to make sure that you feel comfortable with them. A lot of people ask me, is it painful? Is permanent makeup painful? Well, I would have to say that it really varies from person to person. Everyone's different. Everyone has a different threshold of pain. However, we do use topical anesthetics. They're very effective. One we place on the skin prior to the procedure, and we leave it on about 20 to 30 minutes. And after we open the skin or make our first pass, we then put a topical gel on, and that has further anesthetizing qualities. So most of the time when I am doing permanent makeup on my clients, well, let's just put it this way. I've never had anyone beg me to stop and then they ran out of the room. That's just never happened. So we can really keep you quite comfortable, and we want to stay ahead of the pain. So a lot of times it's really communication and how you're feeling, and then what we can do to address that. But primarily I would have to say it's very doable, it's completely tolerable, and it's not excruciatingly painful. Now, some people perceive pressure as being pain. Well, pressure's pressure. Pain is pain. But sometimes you're so in your head that you can't get your head wrapped around the idea that you actually are numb. So it just depends on really personalities. I also really do like to advise my clients to abstain from alcohol, from caffeine, anything that's going to make your adrenaline pump and work against my anesthetics. Also, that kind of helps to get you out of your head per se. Some people get really wound up with caffeine. So I always say, please abstain from caffeine the day of the procedure if you can do that. So the question is often asked, how long does permanent makeup last? Well, it is a bit of a misnomer to call permanent makeup permanent. It is permanent in that you cannot wipe it off, you cannot dislodge it, you cannot alter it through the use of soaps or your finger or a washcloth or swimming or anything like that. So insofar as the terminology permanent, that you can't wipe it off, it is definitely permanent. Now, how long will it last is a whole nother topic of discussion, because again, we all have different lifestyles. We live in different parts of the country. You may get the sun, you may not have sun. If you're in Alaska, your permanent makeup's probably going to last a little longer. If you're here in Florida, we have sun, we have water, we are outside all the time. That definitely does compromise the pigments used in permanent makeup. UV rays definitely bleach out and lighten the cosmetic procedures. That being said, you can expect to have to come back for touch-ups, but it's really one-to-one basis. We can never determine. I have women who are very particular about their brows, so therefore they come back every 8 months to 10 months and have a touch-up. They want them to look very crispy and beautiful and architecturally perfect, so they're going to come back more often. I have people who love their liner to be really dark and very precise. So I always say, If you can see that your permanent makeup is changing in any way, if it is beginning to lighten, the best thing to do is come back in for a touch-up immediately so as not to let that tattooed area fade away to nothing, and then we have to start all over. So I'm often asked the question, how long does the procedure take? Well, that's an interesting question, but I have an answer that I pretty much say to everyone, and that is, well, it takes as long as it takes. We want to get it precise without overworking the tissue that first visit. Primarily, permanent makeup is applied in 2 separate visits. One, when we design and we place your permanent cosmetics. Then we wait another 4 to 6 weeks and you come back for what we call a perfection visit. And that perfection visit is going to really address any areas that perhaps didn't take the pigment. An area that might be a little bit weak in color, we're going to go back over that area. We're going to apply the color again so that you get a lot more vibrancy from your permanent makeup. Lips sometimes take 3 times, and oftentimes areolas take 2 to 5 times even. It just depends on that skin.